Hello, everyone, and I hope that you're doing great. Now, today we're going to run through this January 2023 CSEC Biology Paper 1. Before I start this paper, I want to thank the persons who actually sent me this paper. I want to tell you that I truly appreciate it. I should have done this paper from early this morning, but I was busy on the road doing a number of different things, so I'm just getting to it. Also, I know this paper is quite anticipated, and I know that you're excited to go through this paper as myself. And so, let's jump to question number 1. And so the question number 1 reads, which of the following characteristics is used to distinguish insects from other arthropods? And this is a repeat question, and so number of legs is the correct answer, which is option A. For question number 2, it now reads that living organisms, such as plants, are affected by abiotic factors, which determine where they become established. Which of the following options describes some of these determining factors? And this is also a repeat question, and sunlight availability, soil pH, and minerals are the correct options, and so option C is correct. For question number 3, it reads now that a 50 gram sample of fresh soil is repeatedly heated at 110 degrees Celsius and cooled in a desiccator. It said the final constant weight of the soil is 35 grams. The soil component eliminated by this procedure is most likely what? And a point to note here, if you notice even the temperature, which is 110, which is just above the boiling point of water. And so therefore water is the substance that's been evaporated, all right? And notice the decrease in mass as well. And so you can also calculate that the amount of mass of water in the soil was 15, all right? Because 35 from 50 will give you 15, all right? And I mean, that's just a simple mathematics approach to it, if you look at it in that sense. All right, so next question is question number 4. And question number 4, it reads now, is the item 4 refers to the following food web. And so I want to observe the food web carefully. And now the question now reads, let me go back a little bit so you can actually see the food web properly. All right, and so the question now reads, how many complete food chains can be formed from the food web shown above? And so by going through it from plants to iguana to the ocelot, that's 1. Plants, squirrel, ocelot, another 1, that's 2. From the plants, squirrel, and to the auk, that's another 1. So we have 3 food chains in this. So option C is correct for number 4. For question number 5, it said infestation of mealybugs can cause severe damage to hibiscus plants, and very often ladybird beetles are introduced to reduce the mealybug population. It said this relationship between the mealybugs and the ladybird beetles can be described as what? And this is a prey-predator relationship. This is also a repeat question. So far, we have quite a number of repeat questions. All right, for question number 6, it states that bacteria plays an important role in the cycling of nitrogen. It said which of the following organisms is not a part of this cycle? And so the correct answer here is streptococcus, because streptococcus is the bacteria that cause strep throat when you see the infection of the tonsils and so on. So ribosium is a nitrogen fixing bacteria that converts nitrogen gas into nitrates. We have also the nitrobacter, which is a nitrifying bacteria that converts nitrites into nitrates. And we also have the nitrosomnans, which are the nitrifying bacteria as well. Those convert ammonia into nitrite. All right, and so let's now jump into the next question, question number 7. And question number 7 refers to this. It said, item 7 refers to the following diagram of energy transfer from the sun. And this is a very familiar diagram. And so the question reads now, it said energy flow through ecosystem is not 100% efficient. This is so because energy is what? And a point to note is that energy normally decreases by 10% going along the food chain or food web, right? And a point to note, the A is the correct answer. Energy is lost during respiration and excretion. And of course, a point should note here that energy also requires energy. Respiration, I should say, the production of energy also requires energy to start the reaction, right? And so energy is used up in every life process. All right, so all life processes use energy. All right, so option A is correct. Again, this is a repeat question. Question number 8, it said, which of the following practices can be used in the conservation and restoration of an ecosystem? And so restrict hunting is a very good one. Quarrying to remove limestone, bad thing to do. planting of mangrove along the shoreline, definitely. So 1 and 3, they are the correct options. Now, question number 9, and question number 9 is said, which of the following are effects of the pollutants on coral reefs in the Caribbean? And so we have 1 year is to increase the microbial and seagrass growth. We have less reef fish, which is also true. More branching corals, which is not true because, of course, you should have less if you have pollutants, right? And so option 1 and 2, they are the correct options. So A is correct for this question. Now let's go jump to question number 10. And question number 10 now reads, which of the following are true about the effect of carbon monoxide on, from exhaust? And so the carbon monoxide, it will bind reversibly with hemoglobin because it can be reversed. It's not a permanent thing. It binds more easily to hemoglobin, which is also true. Prevents oxygen transport by hemoglobin, which is also true. So option D is the correct option for that question. Now, question number 11, and it's item 11 refers to the following graph of population growth. And so if you observe the graph carefully, you notice to see on the Y number of organisms, and on the X you have time, and you can notice the curve of the graph there. And it said, the question actually reads now that phase 4 of the graph is most likely due to what? If you look at phase 4 carefully, phase 4 is a decline is taking place at phase 4, right? So it was high, then it started coming down. And so what could cause a decline in the population? And here is competition from invasive species definitely is quite the answer. The others will actually cause increase, okay? So if you go through them, you notice those will cause increase in the population. All right, so number 12. And item 12 refers to the following diagram of a plant cell. And I have a problem with this diagram. I'll show you what the problem is with this diagram here. Well, it's not the diagram I have a problem with, really, is the question. And so much, I make a notation of it as well. So I'm going to point out something here. If you look carefully, we take part 1 to be the mitochondrion and structure 2 to be the chloroplast, all right? And I'm going to tell you there are 2 reasons why actually determining that structure 1 is mitochondria and structure 2 is chloroplast. First, if it's a plant cell, you normally have more chloroplast than mitochondria, right? And if you count the mitochondria, they are less. The mitochondria will be less than chloroplast. That's 1. Also, the internal structure and design. If you notice, you can see like the cristae and the matrix in the mitochondria. You can see those outlined, even though the diagram is not so clear, but you can look at it carefully, see the matrix, and you also see the cristae in the mitochondria. You could see those. And so structure 1, straight off the bat, is mitochondria, right? But I want to show you something now in the question itself. In the question, let me just get into it. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me decrease this so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so for the question now, we said, which organelles are correctly matched to their function? And so if you remember that 1 is the mitochondria, right? And so it releases energy during respiration, correct? That is the only true statement for the mitochondria for structure 1. For structure 2, if A is correct in terms of releasing energy, structure 2 does not control the activity of the cell. That's a nucleus job, all right? However, now, I like C, but C is not matching to the diagram. So there's a mistake somewhere. And so here, mitochondria does not trap solar energy. It's a chloroplast that does that because of chlorophyll that is present, right? And release energy during respiration. That's the job of the mitochondrion. So if C was reversed, then I'll choose C as my option. But C is the only option, a matter of fact, that shows the correct functions in a reverse way, if you understand what I mean, right? So if for this exam, if I was you, I would choose C as my option, but they're not properly matched with the diagram in terms of functions. So let's go back there and see my notation here that the options are not correct to match the correct appropriate organelles or answer. So again, mitochondrion is option part A or part 1 of the diagram. Structure 2, chloroplast. All right, so I do not agree with any of those answers in that chart at all. All right. So however, though, if you have a different opinion and you have a different reasoning, then you can talk to me in the comment section and we have a discussion about it. All right. But for now, there's really no answer. But option C in reverse, yes. All right. Question number 13 is which of the following comparisons of the cell wall and cell membrane is incorrect? And so the cell wall is found in plant cells only. And this is a comparison between plants and animals. A matter of fact, and it's a plant cell only. Technically, it's not only plant cells have cell wall. I should make a note of that as well. Because the truth is, cell wall is also found in some bacteria too, right? Just to make a mention. But looking for the incorrect statement here is that cell wall found in both plants and animals, which is not true. And cell membrane found in animal cells only, which is not true because cell membrane is found in all cells, right? But option D is correct in terms of what they're saying. So it's a nice question though, and option D is the correct one based on the things that they have. All right, and so question number 4. All right, it said in multicellular organisms, cell becomes different from one another in order to carry out particular functions. This is called cell specialization. And so option D is the correct answer for this question. All right, so let's go to question number 15 now. And question number 15 reads, which of the following statements best describes diffusion? And diffusion is that energy is required, absolutely no. Cell membrane is required, absolutely not. A concentration gradient is necessary, yes, because it moves from high to low concentration. So definitely C is the correct answer. Movement of water is osmosis, so there's no even need to even discuss that one at all, right? All right, so let me just get a little bit more zoom into this. All right, so question number 16 at this time. And question number 16 is that item 16 refers to the following diagrams, which illustrates the result of an experiment. And so observe the diagram carefully. You have a drop of dye, and then eventually dye is spread out after 1 hour. And so the question now reads, which the process demonstrated in the diagrams above is responsible for what? And I put in red that is diffusion. The spread out of particles is diffusion. And so the only diffusion process that is described right here is carbon dioxide entering leaf cells. All right, so carbon dioxide moved by diffusion. So option D is correct. All right, let's jump to question number 17 now, and that one is on top. No, that's not on. Yeah, it's on top. All right, so question number 17 here, it now reads that after absorption by the ileum, excess glucose is immediately converted to what? And glucose, once it's in excess, is converted to glycogen, which is a polysaccharide, and that is taking place in the liver and also in the muscles. All right, so option C is correct. Now for question number 18, it said anemia may be caused by a lack of what? And that is lack of iron. And so if you didn't know that vitamin B is also a part of it, but the major thing is iron. All right, and so definitely by process of elimination, if you didn't know that vitamin D assists with that process, then there's a good chance to make a note of that. All right, so question number 19. It stated that now which of the following organisms are autotrophs. Maybe I'm going too fast. I'm stoned a little bit. All right, so autotrophs autotrophs now, they are self-feeding organisms. A point to note that auto means self and trophs or trophic means feeding. So autotrophs, they are self-feeders, and seaweed is the only autotrophs here. They are producers in a matter of fact. All right, so cows, moles, humans, they are heterotrophs. And so we have different forms of heterotrophs. You have herbivores, you have saprophyte for the moles. We have humans, which most of us are omnivores because we eat both plants and animals. Some of us vegan. If you're a strict vegan, then definitely you're just a herbivore. But generally, human beings are omnivores. All right, question number 20. It said when starch is chemically digested in the mouth, the enzyme and product are, and so the enzyme, as you know, is salivary amylase and the product is maltose, right? And I have done a little short video on that one to talk about the digestion of starch, and I also explained that. So if you have missed it, then you can make a quick check on it. All right, so question number 21. And question number 21 now reads that, let's go down into that a little bit. Right, it's item 21 refers to the following diagram, which shows the cross-section of the leaf of a flowering plant. And so there's a quick labeling. We have upper epidermis, which is 1. We have a palisade mesophyll layer, which is part 2. And I just want to notice something right here, right? These cells, they are called palisade mesophyll cells. So you need to know when they indicate, for example, paper 2, when they indicate the layer versus the cells, okay, or a cell. We also have a the spongy mesophyll layer, all right, and one of these cells will be a spongy mesophyll cell. And right here we have the vascular bundle. We have a lower epidermis, and also you need to know that a lower epidermis is normally thinner than the upper epidermis, all right, because the upper epidermis provides more protection than the lower, because the upper is exposed to direct sun. All right, this photosynthesis occurs mainly in the area labeled what, and that is structure 2 or section 2 of the diagram, which is a palisade mesophyll layer, because the palisade mesophyll layer contains palisade mesophyll cells, and palisade mesophyll cells, they have the most chloroplast, which means also they have the most chlorophyll, and also means that the most photosynthesis will take place there. Now, item 22 refers to the following diagram of the respiratory structure. And so this respiratory structure, if you notice it, well, all of us know this by now. It's the respiratory structure shown above is, and that is an alveolus. And this is also a repeat question, you know. Yeah, this is a repeat question. Now, question number 23 is it refers to the following equation, which shows the oxidation of glucose in cells, and this is respiration. I just put the 6 here to balance the equation. So practice to draw or write the balanced chemical equation of respiration and also photosynthesis as well. So the question now reads, the energy released during this process is what? And the process released in this process is ATP. And so energy is stored in bonds in ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. When you break the bonds and produce ADP, then energy become available in the body. Now, question number 24 is that which of the following chemicals paralyzes cilia on the membrane and results in mucus accumulation in the lungs, and this is tar. Okay, so tar is definitely going to cause a buildup of mucus, and also going to reduce the surface area of the alveoli as well, and prevent effective diffusion of gases across the membrane. All right, and so it also leads to shortness of breath over time. All right, so item number 25 refers to the following diagram of the mammalian heart. And so this is a repeat question as well. It said, in a patient with a certain defective heart condition, it was found that blood flowed from section 1 to section 2 of the diagram above. It said this was most likely due to a malfunction of the, and I just want to point out that if you notice going back here, and this valve right here, if a valve, a matter of fact, prevents the backflow of blood. And usually blood will come into the atrium and then empties into the ventricle. So it should move from 2 into 1. However, if it goes from 1 into 2, then this valve, which is a bicuspid valve, is not properly functioning. And so option C is the correct answer. Again, it's a repeat question. All right. And so question number 26 is which of the following is not a type of substance transported by the circulatory system of an animal, and solid undigested waste is not passed through the blood. Otherwise, technically, you'd have feces in your blood, which is not a nice thing. You have septic. And if you get septic to a certain degree, then you're going to die. So solid undigested food passed through the rectum and through the anus. That's feces. Yeah. All right. Question number 27. The blood of a person suffering from pathogenic disease differs from that of a healthy person by having a larger number of what? And if you have any disease at all, what you're going to tend to have greater than the normal person is more white blood cells, because the white blood cells will fight against those pathogens, right? All right. And so that's an easy question. Question number 28. And it said item 28 refers to the following diagram, which shows an open stoma of a leaf. And so we have on the outside, we have a thin cell wall. Inside, we have a thick cell wall. And we have a stoma, which is the opening, and we have a guard cell that controls the opening of the stoma. And it said, which of the following changes occur when the plant is conserving water on a hot day? And if you're going to conserve water, then what must happen is that the stoma must close. Okay, so it can only be between B and D. No, matter of fact, A and D can only be the option. But let's eliminate quickly. For the stoma to close, then the guard cells must be flaccid because the guard cells lose water. And of course, they do not stretch because they collapse and come together. All right, so option D is the correct answer for question number 28. Now, for question number 29, it said, which of the following options correctly matches the storage organ to their stored nutrients? And right off the bat right here, if you look at it, you know that roots store starch, right? Plants store starch, all right, generally. Fruits can store generally there are two sugars that are found in fruits. You have fructose, which is fruit sugar, and you also have sucrose as well. And I want to point out why sucrose are found in fruits, because remember now, fruits contain fruit sugar, which is fructose. However, fructose plus glucose gives sucrose, okay? So sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose. That's why sucrose can be found in fruits. As a matter of fact, you also should know that sucrose is a transporting sugar in plants by the process of translocation. Sucrose travels in plant. Starch is a storage material. Glycogen is found in animals, so definitely glycogen is found in the liver. All right, just to make a mention of that. All right, so question number 30, which is right across from here, is that person whose kidney have failed must undergo a process by which excretory materials are removed from the blood regularly. This is because excretory materials, and this I saw this question, and this one is that it will otherwise accumulate and poison the person. I sure saw this question. That's a repeat question. I can guarantee it is. All right, question number 31. And question number 31, let me just get it in screen. Right, question number 31, it said, a student eats a highly salted snack and does not drink water. This person is dehydrated, I'm going to tell you. It said, which of the following describes and explains the urine most likely produced after a few hours? And so remember now, this person do not drink water, plenty salt, so the kidney will try to excrete the thing. And so the urine going to be concentrated with salt, of course, and also urea. The ADH will be released, and I want to tell you why ADH will release. ADH try to conserve water. Once it is released, water is conserved in the body. And a point to note here, if a person is dehydrated, the body will want to conserve water as best as possible, right? And then, of course, the water will also be absorbed back into the kidney. I also want to make a note that alcohol will inhibit ADH. So a person who drinks a lot of alcohol, especially beers and so on, they tend to urinate a lot because ADH is inhibited by alcohol. And so you cannot conserve water that easily. Just keep on urinating if you're drinking a lot of alcohol. And so if you're drinking alcohol, it puts pressure on your kidneys. So if you do not like your kidneys, you can drink. Well, you should not even drink, because all of you right now listen to this, you are in school, which means you're underage. All right, question number 32. It said dyes in hardwood and tannins in the bark of trees are most likely products of what? And this is excretion. All right, those are excretory products. And so 32 is C. For 33, it said, which of the following statements about the skeleton system are correct? And yes, it gives the body its shape, definitely so. It is made up of hard, non-living tissues, which is not true because the bones, they are living tissues, all right? And it protects the delicate organs such as the heart and lungs, absolutely. So option B is correct, 1 and 3. So let's go to 34. All right, for question number 34 now, it said that locomotion is important to animals for what? And once, locomotion, just to point it out, is movement, right? And so yes, you can avoid predator by moving, acquiring food and shelter definitely by moving, assimilating digested food is not by movement. You don't even need to move to do that. So option 1 and 2, they are correct. So option A is correct for 34. Now for question number 35. And question number 35, here it said item 35 refers to the following diagram of the arm and shoulder blade. All right, and so I'm going to scroll along real quick into this. All right, and so I make a notation right here based on the question. I will go back to it when I go through the question itself, right? And it said movement in the shoulder, elbow, and wrist joints is correctly described as movement in what? All right, and so they're talking about different planes, number of planes right here, right? So I just want to make a quick notation right here that there are 3 planes of the body. All right. You have the frontal plane, which is also called the corneal plane. You have the sagittal plane, which is also called the longitudinal plane. And we also have a transverse plane, which is also called the axial or horizontal plane. And of course, corneal or frontal separates the front from the back, otherwise anterior from posterior. All right. And the sagittal plane, longitudinal plane, which is the same thing. It separates left from right. And then we have the transverse now would be upper from lower, which is the superior and inferior part of the body. All right. And so let me go back to this chart. Right. So which is correct. And so shoulder joint is actually in 3 planes. It can only be between A and B. However, elbow is in one. It's just back and forth movement in one direction. That's how elbow moves. It's just an inch joint. And the wrist now is a kind of a tricky one here. In terms of the wrist move in at least 2 planes, 2 major planes. That's how the wrist move. And so I chose B because the wrist, based on the orientation of the arm, you can have different movements. It move in 2 basic planes. And so I have to go with B as my correct answer. All right, so question number 36. All right, and this, right there. All right, so Shashring's speech is slurred because he drank too much alcohol. So which of the labeled regions of the brain is affected by the alcohol? And this diagram also have an arrow. Here we know that this is the cerebrum. We have the hypothalamus, and here is not the cerebellum. Here is actually the medulla oblongata right here, and this structure D, which is the cerebellum, not the medulla. So that was a mistake, as a typo. I don't know. Maybe they were shifting around the labels and realized. But they make a giveaway right here because this part is affected by the brain, which is the spinal cord. Well, the spinal cord is truly not a part of the brain too, and I want to mention that. But based on the label structure, the part that affects your speech is really your central nervous system, which technically is the spinal cord. It prevents the signaling to move or the impulse to move quickly. So it slows down the impulse. Motherfucker, I'm going to make a note that alcohol affects all part of the brain because if it can affect the cerebellum, which affects your coordination and balance. So when you're staggering and not moving properly and walking out in the road, the car could kill you. I'm just kind of make you be scared that you don't drink. Yeah, you're stumbling over things and you can damage yourself. You can get really hurt. And the cerebrum can also be affected by alcohol in terms of your thinking and your thought process, definitely so. But in terms of your speech, that is definitely your spinal cord being affected. So section C is the correct one. If they ask for if was somebody stumbling, lack of coordination, then D would be the correct one. In terms of your thinking and thought process, then option A. All right, but slurred speech is a part of your spinal cord. All right, so 37. It said 37 refers to the following diagram, which shows a reflex action. And I label this, so I think I need to go down a little bit more in terms of this so you can see well. So the labeling here, let me just run through them real quick. Right there, perfect. So one is receptor, and then this broken line neuron is actually a sensory neuron coming from the receptor, sensory neuron. This structure right here is just a cell body of the cells of the sensory neuron. And a giveaway here, or a takeaway really, is that the cell body is on the side, sensory side. Okay, so the cell body is on the side of the sensory neuron. Then we have a relay neuron. And a point to note right here, a matter of fact, let me say something before I go to that point. Then the last neuron coming out of the spinal cord is the motor neuron. A point to note is that all 3 neurons, they meet in the gray matter of the spinal cord. So neuron 2 is the relay neuron, but this structure right here, this is the gray matter. The outer part is the white matter. So the outermost part of the spinal cord is the white matter. And then we have the effector, which is in part 3, and that effectors, they are found in the muscles that help to stimulate actions. And so which label structure is the effector, which is option 3, which is part C of this question, right? Or option C of the question. Now for question number 38, I'm going to start with question number 39 at the same time. So 38 is said now refers to the following actions, and we are bending of shoe towards light, rolling up of a millipede when touched, withdrawal of an earthworm into its burrow when touched. And so all of the actions are examples of what, and they are responses. They're responding to stimuli. All right, but stimuli is not the correct answer. They are responses. They are type of actions, all right, based upon a stimuli or stimulus. All right, for 39, it's a girl smells a hamburger and salivates. It's a which of the following is the effector which brings about a response, and the effector will be in the muscles or in glands. And so the secretion of saliva is a response, not the effector. The effector will be the salivary glands, and the salivary glands, when they are stimulated, they secrete the saliva. So the saliva is a response. Effector is the salivary glands. All right. So B is the option for that question. All right. For question number 40, it said item 40 refers to the following diagram of an eye which shows nearsightedness, and that is myopia. And it said which of the following shows how the defect can be corrected. And just to make a note here, you're going to use a concave, which is the same thing as a diverging lens, and the rays will bend outwards. I think this is a repeat question. And so I want to notice that the rays are meeting right here. So what the lens will do is to spread them out before they reach this point, and then will cause them to reach the retina where images are formed. So this is the problem. The rays converge too early. All right, so I want them spread out some more so they can, by the time they converge, they're at the back of the eye, which is the retina. Number 41 is in the cotyledon of red bean, which factor is not a requirement for the breakdown of stored food during germination? And germination does not involve light. I want to make sure you know that. Carbon dioxide and light, they're not needed for germination. Germination need enzymes, they need warmth, they need oxygen. A matter of fact, warmth will stimulate the enzymes to work. Enzymes will break down the stored food. Oxygen will react with some of the food to produce energy. All right, and all the germinating processes require some form of energy, so that's why energy is produced by use of oxygen. Water is needed as well, all right, to soften the food and also to hydrolyze the food. All right, so let's go to 42 real quick now. So 42, and it said item 42 refers to, item 42 is based on the following graph, which shows the height of some students in a class. And so here the question reads now, which labeled portion of the graph represents the unusual shortness of students? And I want to just make a note right here that, notice height starts here. So this is the lowest height. So this must be the unusual short people. A matter of fact, the average people will be in here, which is part 2. All right, because the majority will fall into the middle section right there. A matter of fact, you see number right there. That's the average amount. These are extremely tall person. Height is increasing going towards the right. So section 1 is correct. So option A is the correct answer. For 43, it said item 43 refers to the following diagram, which shows a section through the testis. All right, and so I've labeled that, label all of the structures. So we have epididymis, we have the seminiferous tubules, and that's the part where sperms are actually produced in the seminiferous tubules. The epididymis temporarily stores sperm cells or until they are mature, matter of fact. And we have the scrotum, which is structure 3. Structure 4, that is the vas deferens leading away from the testis. All right, and so 43 said the part label 1 is the epididymis, so we can just run across that. 44 is the pollen grains, which are small, light, odorless, and smooth, are most likely transferred by what? And that must be wind, because it has no color to attract birds or insect. All right, and it is light, so it can easily blown or carried by wind. All right, so 45, it said when an okra fruit becomes dry. So if you eat okra, some people say okra, some people say okra, whichever one you say, it doesn't matter. Okra. It said splits open along several lines of weakness. It said in its structure, this adaptation is suited for what? So if the okra splits open, then the seeds, and I don't even know what okra looks like, but it's a long green fruit. When it dry, becomes brown, and then you have some line street, as they mentioned here, and some small round black seeds. So if it splits open, then the seeds can scatter and or disperse. And so disperse of the seed with scattering of the seed is the same thing. So seeds can be scattered. That's the main thing why they do that. All right, and that's an example of what they call explosion. All right. So item 46. Item 46 refers to the following diagrams of specialized cells. And so here now it said, I've seen this diagram, but maybe, yeah, I've seen this diagram. It said, which of the following structures is common to both cells? And here is nucleus. This dark spot is a nucleus. We know that sperm cells have nucleus. I almost choose mitochondrion, to be honest with you, because I was looking at the structures here. They almost look like mitochondria, but I cannot be guaranteed because I cannot see in it. But we know that this is a nucleus. This dark spot is a nucleus. The sperm cells do have nucleus. The sperm cells do have mitochondria. And whatever the cell is, I don't know what the cell is, but it can just be ribosomes, right? It don't have to be necessarily mitochondria. So I have to go with nucleus because nucleus is the obvious one. All right. All right. So 46 is nucleus. All right. So 47, it said, which of the following is the correct sequence for seed formation after fertilization? And so the ovule will become zygote. That's when the egg cell meet with the sperm cell from the pollen. And then the zygote forms embryo then into seed. This question is a repeat question. I remember this one for sure. All right, we're almost there. Now for 48, it said one method of controlling the population of mosquitoes is by getting rid of all stagnant water. It said which stages of the life cycle does this method controls? And this controls all the life cycle or the stage of life cycle that actually exists in water. And so the egg is laid in water, larva develop in water, the pupa also stays in water, and so therefore B is the correct answer. Adult is not in water, so by automatic, A, C, and D are out because the adult is found on land, all right, or in the air for the most part. All right, for 49, it say a farmer's crop is infected by a disease-causing organism and he is unable to harvest most of the crop. It said, which of the following is an environmental implication as a result of this? And so, yes, option A looks nice because there'll be loss of crop. But in terms of implication, you're implying that something that is not directly suggested is that D is better because it serves as a risk of spread of the disease to nearby farmers' crop. And that will actually lead to pretty much extinction of that particular crop if it keeps spreading. So that's more serious than the farmer himself losing his crop. So one farmer losing the crop is not that bad compared to many farmers losing their crops and it keeps spreading. All right, so D is the strongest one. All right, now 50. It said which of the following are consequences of plant or human disease? And so loss of productivity, yes. Decreasing food prices, yes. Larger part of national budget used to buy medication, yes, definitely. So decreasing food prices would not necessarily cause by human disease. I would say more increasing food prices because again, if laborers are sick, then they cannot produce enough food. Okay. And even if you have a breakout in certain diseases in terms of transportation of food and delivering of food and all those things, price has gone up. All right, so disease can cause food increases. All right, because again, lack of laborers, lack of transport of food, there's a number of different things could happen. And so option 1 and 3, they are correct. All right, so 51, which I think I have a slide back up. For that one, I almost sure. Yes, 51. And once you see the 50s, you know that we are very close, right? All right, so I apologize for the lengthy review. All right, 51. It said two alleles of a gene are situated at what? Okay, and so I just want to make a note right here. It said two alleles of a gene are situated at my notation right here. Let me talk about the notation afterwards because A is the correct answer. The same locus on homologous pair of chromosomes. Now, I want to note this key said homologous pair. All right, and I want to note that from each homologous pair of chromosome, you get one from your mama and one from your papa. So your mom and your dad actually give you one each of those pair of homologous chromosome. And on the same position that we call locus, you'll have an allele responsible for the same trait or same characteristic. All right. One could be dominant, one could be recessive, but they are on the same locus and only on homologous chromosome. Once you see different homologous pair, definitely is out of the picture. No, they have to be on the same homologous pair of chromosome. All right. However, one is from mom, one is from dad. Now, for 52, it said that the gene for coat color in cattle shows incomplete dominance. Right? It's a purebred cow with red coat mates with a purebred bull with white coat. It's that all of the offspring have round coats. Which of the following would represents the genotype of the offspring? Now we talk about purebred. Purebred could be two things. I want to point out that purebred could be either homozygous or homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. I just want to make mention of that. Purebred means only one type of allele. And so if you think about red represented by R and white represented by W, then the genotype for the roan coat will have to be RW. A point to note that in terms of incomplete dominance is like a blended. Notice notation in red is like a blended form, which means you're going to have a mixture of both color. Okay, you have a mixture of both. All right, just to mention that. So it's different from both parents. It's not the same. Now, codominance is when you see both showing up. None is dominant over the next, like blood group, for example, like the AB. Notice the AB blood group, right? All right. All right, and so 54, it said, which of the following features of cell division refers to mitosis? And option D is correct because the amount of genes material in the cell remains the same, because mitosis produces the same number of chromosomes or materials in the cell. It's the exact same thing. Meiosis, however, produces half the number, which is called haploid cell. Mitosis produces diploid cells. All right. Now, 55, question number 55. And 55 now said, albinism is caused by a single recessive allele. Two normal parents can have an albino child. This is because, and both parents have to be heterozygous, because if it is recessive, that means one recessive allele must come from the mother, one recessive allele must come from the father. So both of them, if they are normal to begin with, it therefore means that they are carriers. They are heterozygous. So A is correct. Number 56. I wonder if 56 is there. 56 is at the bottom. Now, it said one example of a sex-linked disease is, and this one is a common question. We have seen this, I'll talk about this many times, it's color blindness. All right. And so 57, it said two goats heterozygous for fast growth rate or crossbred. It said the percentage of F1 population most likely to possess, this is key, to possess homologous alleles, which means they have the same alleles. Notice this, it's a homologous alleles. And so, homozygous. I don't know where to get homologous from. I'm also in chemistry. So homozygous alleles. And so homozygous means the same. All right. And so here now, based upon this, if both of them are heterozygous, right? Therefore, these are the results. So this box right here, let me just put a little tick. So this box right here is homozygous, and this one here is also homozygous. So it's 50%, right? 50% of that offspring will be homozygous alleles. Now for 59, no, not 59, 58. All right, so 58, it said, which of the following describe a group of closely related organisms that are able to interbreed and produce fertile offspring, and that is species. All right, and 59, it's a natural selection may be described as what? A natural selection is a process by which organism retains those genes which makes it adapt for its environment. So option A seems nice, but the reason why I take out option A to not be correct, you have your community. It's not a community-based thing to be adapted, and it's not based on an habitat, but it's based upon the environment. It's not just habitat, but the environment. So the word habitat and community, no, I couldn't work with that one. I have to go with C as my correct answer. All right. And so the final question, they said, which of the following does not apply to genetic engineering? And so here is producing hormones and proteins. They're not genetic engineering at all. But treating genetic diseases, definitely. Producing higher yielding crops because you have GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Yep. And so determining the parentage of a child, definitely you have to do genetic engineering to determine that. And so we have the final of the final part of review. This is the end. And I must say that I did this under really tired conditions. I must say that been on the road all day. And but anyhow, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. I know you have been waiting. And also, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe and also share it to friends. And I know that you will do well in the examination as well. And I will try to get at least some sleep and do another review. So anyway, catch you later. All right. Talk to you soon.